Everybody ready for a special early morning edition of the Tao of the Day? I am here to talk with you about the Tao. The Tao translates to the canon of reason. And the canon of reason is all about living a reasonable and lovely life. If you have a number between 1 and 81 you want to share with me, I would love to read your Tao for the day, as well as go through it line by line and see what it has in store for you. The Tao, once again, it's an ancient text. It was written, I think, 600 or 800 BC, and it is it's a wonderful book of just how to live a reasonable life and how to live in a space of yielding. It is not it's not about the world that we live in today. It is about the world that we're transitioning into. This is one of the first texts that really kind of embraced the feminine and the feminine in strength. Like, so much of the world could use more yielding and more understanding and more love from this space of being present. And that is what the Tao offers. So if you have a number that you'd like to explore with me between 1 and 81, why don't you join me now and pick a number? I'm going to pick a number just to get us started and get us moving. This has turned into a podcast. And so if any of you are interested, that is on Anchor, and it's entitled Tao of the Day. It just went up yesterday, and I'm going back and I'm making sure that they all get updated with just brief descriptions of what we're going through on each episode. So I'm looking around at some numbers and trying to figure out what I want to choose. If you have a number that's ringing for you, please join me. I'm going to decide on number 70, and that is the number that I'm working with today. My teachings are easy to understand and easy to put into practice, yet your intellect will never grasp them. And if you try to practice them, you'll fail. My teachings are older than the world. How can you grasp their meaning? If you want to know me, look inside your heart. This is, once again, I mentioned earlier, this is the feminine. This is so much of the Tao revolves in the yin space, in the space of yielding, in the space of being present. If you have a number that you want to share with me and want to go through, I would happy to have you on. I'm going to continue going through 70. This is my Tao for the day. My teachings are easy to understand and easy to put into practice. And this is true. All of the teachings that we have gone through, very easy to practice, very easy to put into practice and to do by being present, by being yielding to those around you, by understanding like our place and who we are as individuals, and not demanding others meet us anywhere, just loving them from where they're at and loving them for what they are, because they are like us. They are gods, and they are creating worlds just like we are. And so my teachings are easy to understand and easy to put into practice, yet your intellect will never grasp them, and if you try to practice them, you'll fail. And this is one of the big points, right? If you try to practice them, you're going to fail. But by being present with yourself, you will naturally practice them. You are going to love and allow and be present with the moment as it is in this moment right now. Your intellect will never grasp them, because your intellect is always trying to understand and to sort out. And so the intellect here is that masculine. And yesterday we spoke a lot about the masculine and feminine, right? We spoke about, I don't know if you were here for that, but yesterday we spoke of the structure being the masculine and the space being the feminine. And so it was, we spoke a lot about this space of, if you join spokes together to create a wheel, it is the hub in the middle that makes the wagon move. And so the masculine is the structure, the spokes, the things, and then the empty space is what we utilize to make the wagon move. And here the intellect is the structure, right? The intellect is the wood for the house, but it is the space in the house that we use. And when you fill your house with more and more intellect, when you try to fill your intellect, what you're doing is you're getting rid of the space that you utilize. Like utilizing, you need that space if you want to use whatever you're making. You can't make a vessel to carry something, carry water in, let's say, if the vessel is full. Your intellect wants to fill itself up. Your intellect is always there trying to fill more space, but it is the space that we use. And so here in number 70 of the Tao, we're saying your intellect can never grasp the teachings of the Tao, and yet they are easy to put into practice. But if you try to put them into practice, you're going to fail. That seems very paradoxical, but the thing is we're talking here about the difference between the masculine structure and the feminine space and the feminine yielding, right? Or the yang structure and the yin yielding, right? And so what happens here is that there is this dichotomy because we currently live in a very yang world. We live in a very structured world. We live in a world that wants increasing structure. And as the structure continues to build, it is falling apart underneath itself, right? Like as you, how I see it is like if you continue to gain weight, eventually your knees and legs will and ankles will give out. And that's what's happening in our world today. We're filling it and filling it and filling it, and we're not able to use any of it. And because we're not able to use any of this stuff that we're filling up, it's becoming sedentary, and we're not able to actually access all that we're engaging in. And so this number 70, my teaching, the first couple lines, my teachings are easy to understand and easy to put into practice. Yet your intellect will never grasp them, and if you try to practice them, you'll fail. And that's the try is really important in that sentence. If you try to practice them, if you go out into the world in order to practice them, you're going to fail because they are so movable, because they change so quickly, because it isn't about a rule, it isn't about the structure, it is about the space within the structure, the space that the structure is built around, that makes this the beautiful the beautiful balance that we can engage in. My teachings are older than the world. How can you grasp their meaning? And that's a beautiful, I love it when the Tao does this. The Tao does this often, just asking you, like, how do you think you can do this? How do you, as a mortal, believe you can understand the depth that is the Tao? Where do you really think, like where do you get to a place where you believe that you can actually understand the depths and the purity that is me, the Tao, that is you, the Tao, right? If you're utilizing your mind, if you're utilizing your brain, you're only using a small fraction of your ability to access things. My teachings are older than the world. How can you grasp their meaning? They're like, you are only going to be here for maybe 100, maybe 200 years. I'll give you that. But the world is millions and millions of years old, and it's been places that we have never even imagined, and it has a history that we can't even put into practice. And the world and the universe has been living by the Tao, by the rules of the Tao since the beginning of space, right? Once there was something, the Tao existed, because something came from, like, that being came from non-being, and that allowed that, like, the non-being happened before that. So it always existed. It was never born. It never died. If we refer to the other aspects of the Tao, if we refer to the other chapters of the Tao, then we can really get into the space of knowing what it means to be in touch with the Tao. And we we can never try to put it into practice. What we have to do is step away from the space of trying and just be in accordance with the Tao. With teachings older than the world, how can we grasp their meaning? If we can't grasp it, then we have to just look into our heart, and that's where we come to next. If you want to know me, look inside your heart, and that will guide you to where you're going. Looking into your heart will guide you into your future, will guide you into being at one with the Tao, being at one with yourself, being at one with all that is. You are here. You are present. You are the Tao, and there is nothing that is going to ever take that away, and you can be present within that. This doesn't say anything about happiness. This doesn't say anything about success. It doesn't say anything about any of those things. All of those things that you're chasing are those are just the manifestation. And the Tao cares much more about the root. The Tao cares much more about who you are and what you're approaching and what you're engrossed in. You're here, you're present. This number 70, and if you're just joining me and you have a number between 1 and 81, I would love to host you, and we can talk about your Tao for the day. But my Tao, number 70, says, my teachings are easy to understand and easy to put into practice, yet your intellect will never grasp them. And if you try to practice them, you'll fail. My teachings are older than the world. How can you grasp their meaning? If you want to know me, look inside your heart. This is about intellect and feeling. You know, I talk about the history of mankind and the evolution of mankind as going from the gut brain, right? This is the brain that talks to us about safety. This is the old grandfather, right? Like, this is our gut brain. This is the brain in our gut. And the gut is an intelligent organ. There are neurological clusters. There is a neurological cluster in the gut, and it sends more information to the brain than the brain sends to it. And the heart and the gut are the two places that happens the most. And those are the only places that happens. So what in that way? So the gut is the masculine. It's safety. It is power. It is fear. It is fight, flight, freeze. It is a masculine sort of like, I will be forceful about the way that I engage things. And you have access to that. You have absolute access to that. And that was a big part of the early, Cro-Magnon and the Homo sapien and Homo sapien sapien, the development and the staying alive aspect of mankind. Well, then we developed a heart brain. A heart brain is relationship, and a heart brain is relationship to the things around you and the people and yourself and all of the things, right? Like we get to have relationship with this, but this is a feminine energy. This is more yielding. In order to have relationship, you need that yielding sort of ability. Without that yielding, without the ability to yield, a relationship isn't going to be sustainable. Right? If you're not going to yield to the land isn't going to yield to you. There is resistance, and resistance is the yang energy. Resistance is the energy of the masculine. And here we're talking about intellect, and as we develop as mankind, as the human species, as the Homo sapiens sapiens starts to develop or continues to develop, what happens is they move from the heart brain to the head brain. This is the logical brain. The logical brain laid out things like farming. The logical brain laid out language. The logical brain laid out economics. All of those things that are logical in our world were laid out by the head brain. This is a masculine energy. This is a yang energy thinking organ. right? So our gut and our brain are both masculine, the heart is feminine, and we are moving into yet another feminine brain as we continue to develop the feminine brain that we are developing currently is the spirit brain. This is our first this is just my opinion, but this is our first non-physical brain. This is a brain that we have always, that is, I don't want to say always, but has come online in the time of the Tao, in the time, 6, 8, maybe 1,000 years BC. It came online, but then it's youthful. It is like a baby. Now it is becoming more like a toddler, and it is starting to affect us more and more. And so this space of understanding and enveloping and embracing the feminine and embracing yielding is becoming more and more important in our day-to-day lives. And so here in number 70, my teachings are easy to understand and easy to put into practice. Yes, that's true. Yet your intellect will never grasp them. And if you try to put them into practice, you're going to fail. Why is that? Because your intellect and trying means not being present, means forcefulness, means doing something outside of your nature. You are trying. You are not being. My teachings are older than the world. How can you grasp their meaning? And that's the thing, that masculine energy, that cognitive mind of ours wants to grasp the meaning of things, even though they are older than the world. We've only been here. I've only been here for 46 years. And how am I going to try and grasp something that's millions of years old? That's utilizing millions of years of information and millions of years of insight. Like if I at 46, for where I am today, if I was able to do this for 1,000,000 years, man, I can't imagine who I would be. I still forget about who I am, but if I was here for 1,000,000 years, I definitely wouldn't be doing that. So my teachings are older than the world. How can you grasp their meaning? And that's when I read that kind of a line, what I often think is, wow, the teachings are older than the world. How can you grasp their meaning? What they're saying, what is being said here is that, we think we know what's good and what's bad, but how often do we fall into the trap of being like, oh, wow, this is really bad, but then it turns out to be good? Or, oh my God, this is really good. And then it turns out, and it just led me down this path of, disenchantment or something. It turns out bad. When we talk about the Tao, we talk about something that knows more than just the good and the bad. It understands the cycle. It understands the whole. It understands all that we are. If you have a number you want to share with me, please join me. Pick a number between 1 and 81, and we'll go through the Tao. I'm currently reading through number 70, and I'm talking about the differences between the yang intellect and the yin heart energy of moving forward into our lives. If you want to know me, says the Tao, if you want to know me, look inside your heart. And looking into your heart is looking into that feminine, looking into that yin energy, looking into that of you which is yielding. The Tao was written, Lao Tzu left his precept when he realized that, we're going in a direction that isn't healthy. And the direction they were going in was this yang direction, this direction of forcing things, this direction of taxing, this direction of doing increasing numbers of things that revolved around the intellect, not around the yielding being space. I am so grateful for the feminine energy that I carry in my life. I feel like I'm able to touch that very, very delicately. Of course, that's never enough. Of course, I want, more feminine in my life, and I want women in my life. But being able to touch that and not allow it to affect my my yang energy, not allow it to overly influence the yang energy that I carry. I'm able to, be present with both of these. So yeah, so this was 70. And I, as it finishes here, look inside your heart. And I'm going to, add a little something here. I'm going to say, oh, look inside your heart, sure. But maybe we don't even have to do that if we can tap into our spirit brain, this next brain that is online for us to start utilizing. And, I believe, Jesus, Lao Tzu, Eckhart Tolle, like all of these, Wayne Dyer, like all of these great teachers that we've had, Ram Dass and the Sufi poets, and so many individuals have already ushered in a lot around this space of the spirit brain. They have ushered in the spirit brain for us, and now as it matures, we can continue to engage in its mystery, and we can continue to understand it from this space. A lot of people want to talk about moving back to the heart space, and the heart space is very important. And I think we do need to be able to listen to the heart a little bit more. I think most of us probably listen to our intellect, our brain. I know I get caught listening to my brain way more than I want to. But there is also the gut, which is another masculine, another yang space, and then we have the heart, which is the yin, more feminine space. And so as new teachers and as people today kind of reach out into the space of saying, hey, touch into your heart, I'm very grateful for that. But there is a balance happening where our next evolution is going to be into the spirit sense. And all of the things, I talk about this a lot. I talk about, yes, Wisdom is a great app so we can connect, but we have always been able to connect, but we lost the ability to be quiet and to feel into our heart. Well, now that we have the spirit brain kind of coming online, what we can do is we can tap into that, and we can put into practice our connection even without our social media, even without digital appendages, right? That's kind of what I look at these as. Like our spirit is so much greater than we could ever know, and so much more powerful than we can ever know. We can connect with each other physically from a great distance, and I have experienced that. So when the Tao here says, my teachings are older than the world, how can you grasp their meaning? We're trying to grasp the meaning of the Tao with our intellect. How silly, right? Because it is nothing to do with your intellect or my intellect. The intellect is just the structure. And if we look at the history of the world and we look at the history of mankind, we've built structure and safety, and then we utilized that structure to include relationship, in which the heart was able to be developed. Right? And so without the safety, the heart wouldn't have been able to develop, right? So this is very similar to building a house. In order to have shelter, you have to build a house. You need to build the structure first, and then the space is created within that structure in which you can live. You can't live in a house without the structure. The masculine precedes that. But the feminine has to be able to yield that as well. And so then now we have created this, logical world that is now trying to create, a metaverse and all of these things but all of that exists already. We just have to be able to understand that we're here connected already. And it doesn't have anything to do with needing a digital device or something. Like, you are the antenna, you are the Wi-Fi, you are connected. And every time I come on Wisdom, I like to just take a moment and connect with you, through my heart, through my spirit. Because being able to do that, because if you want to know me, is as it says in 70, if you want to know me, look inside your heart. I want each and every one of you that is listening right now to look inside your heart. And I want you to see, can you feel me there? Because I am. Because you are in my heart as well. We are all connected. And that connection cannot be lost. We are all connected. And if we can try, and if we want to try to understand that, we're going to fail miserably. Because that connection is deeper than anything we've experienced in the physical world. Yet the physical world gives us so much pleasure. The physical world gives us so much to embrace, and yet it has so little to offer. If anybody out there would like to pick a number between 1 and 81, please join me. I am here to read your Tao for the day. This is, I'm Martin John, and every day I come on and I read a Tao for you. If you have a number between 1 and 81, please join me. Give me a number. Just come up. Just anybody can come up, and we can talk about one of the Tao. If you have a number that's burning inside of you and you'd like to share, please let me know. I am interested in reading the Tao for you. All of every chapter of the Tao has magic in it. And if you want a little magic in your day, you want a little magic to start your day off, join me, pick a number between 1 and 81, and I'll read your Tao for the day. I really appreciate each and every one of you joining me, and I hope that someone would like to join. I don't like ending these with just doing my Tao for the day, but I really appreciate if you would like to share a number with me between 1 and 81. I'd love to read your Tao for the day and then go through that line by line. I read 70 earlier today, and so if you have another number that you'd like to share, join me. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and wrap up. I really appreciate each and every one of you joining me today. My name is Martin John. I host the Recover Yourself podcast, and I do workshops. And if you want to work with me personally, you can find me at Satnam Yoga Chicago on Instagram, as well as SatnamYogaChicago.com, I believe. You can work with me through my website or through Satnam, and I am on Wisdom Monday through Friday sometime in the mornings to do this, the Tao, to read your Tao for the day. Always open for anybody coming on and joining me. So if you get that push notification and it says I'm on here wanting to talk with you about the Tao, join me. I'm always open to engaging with new people and talking about the Tao Te Ching. Thank you so much for joining me. Once again, I'm Martin John. This has been a Recover Yourself production. And until next time, keep recovering yourself.